Time for business. Charles is here, starting with the fallout from the Supreme Court's decision. Friday it was, you'll remember, of course, to strike down Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs, Charles.
Yeah, the decision came on Friday, and over the weekend, the U.S. president was quick to announce new tariffs to replace them. Initially, a blanket 10% global tariff, which was then brought up to 15% on Saturday. This is the maximum allowed by the new law invoked by Donald Trump, and for 150 days without congressional approval. Those are decisions that come from the top, but their application by administrators takes much longer to actually take effect. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency announcing this Monday that it would stop collecting the tariffs that have been invalidated by the Supreme Court. So those applied using the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, starting at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. No word yet on when the new tariffs will be formally applied by the customs agency.
So when it comes to tariff, it sounds like, Charles, the only certainty really is uncertainty.
Especially when it comes to the trade agreements that the U.S. has negotiated around the world since Donald Trump started waging his global trade war last year. The signals coming from Washington are that the latest legal upheaval does not affect the deals that were negotiated with the European Union, China, Japan, or South Korea, among many others. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said as much when he spoke on the Face the Nation news program on Sunday, but it's unclear whether the trade partners will now decide to honor these deals. The EU Parliament's trade chief, for instance, said he plans to propose freezing the ratification of the U.S.-EU trade deal until more clarity emerges. Let's focus on South Korea as well. Their finance minister this Monday said their trade deal with the U.S. remains valid, quite handy for them, as they negotiated a 15% tariff rate, which is equivalent to the new tariffs announced by Trump. But uncertainty remains nonetheless, because what matters is not just the tariff applied to South Korea, but to other competitor countries as well. Take a lesson to South Korea's industry minister.
If the U.S. uniformly imposes a 15% global tariff, changes are expected in the relative competitive conditions for Korean companies. Moreover, given the uncertainty surrounding the future direction of additional U.S. tariff measures, the public and private sectors will need to work together to strengthen our companies' export competitiveness and diversify markets.
Yeah, that's the other impact, of course. U.S. trade partners branching out, diversifying their trade relationships.
We've seen it in Europe with the EU-Mercosur trade deal, the EU-India trade deal, and we see it today with South Korea. While Brazilian President Lula da Silva was visiting his counterpart Lee Jae-myung in Seoul, the two leaders signed a slew of agreements to expand cooperation in trade, key minerals, technology, and culture. Brazil is South Korea's largest trading partner in South America.
And on top of all that, uncertainty also lingering on another big question. That's the possibility of refunds for those tariffs that were invalidated by the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court's decision does not outline a pathway for reimbursement, basically leaving that up to lower courts like New York's Court of International Trade. In his dissenting opinion, Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh said this process would likely be, quote, a mess. Well, according to Yale Budget Lab, the U.S. government could be on the hook to return as much as $142 billion in collected tariff revenue. That's for 2025. And one last word, that think tank estimates that with the new tariffs in place, the average tariff rate for U.S. customers would be anywhere between 15 and 20% of the value of the good being imported. Under the previous regime, that figure was at 16.9%.
Markets now, is this affecting that?
So markets rising in Asia, so reacting positively to those tariff developments. You can see the Nikkei and the Shanghai Composite closed for a holiday, so don't take into account those figures. But clearly in Hong Kong, over 2.5%, or just under 2.5% higher. In Europe, at the open, though, we're seeing red across the board. So the uncertainty over those trade deals really the main factor there. Let's have a look at crypto as well this Monday morning. Bitcoin sliding to just over 60 to over around the $65,000 of Bitcoin mark amid that uncertainty as well.
Now we're going to go to London for the last story for Charles. A transportation upheaval could be in the works there.
British tech firm Wave is currently testing autonomous vehicles on the streets of the British capital. Their goal to roll out self-driving cabs similar to the Waymo robotaxis now plying the streets of American cities. If successful, could represent a significant competitive threat to London's iconic black cabs. Brian Quinn has this.
A beloved emblem of the British capital, London's black cabs have been ferrying passengers around for generations, but they could soon be facing some high-tech competition. Autonomous vehicles from the tech firm Wave are currently being tested on London's infamously complex streets, with a public rollout eyed by the end of the year. The key to enabling it, rapid advances in artificial intelligence.
Autonomous driving is one of the most complex engineering problems we have today. But the good news is that AI provides a way to develop a level of intelligence that means that we can drive anywhere with mass market hardware.
Robotaxis have become common in some US cities but remain rare in European cities, whose labyrinthine street plans often date back to the Middle Ages. London's human cabbies study for years to prepare for the knowledge, a comprehensive test of essentially all of the sprawling city's roadways, and they're not ready to be replaced just yet.
Technology is evolving. Okay, we're not riding horse and carts. We're in a £75,000 electric vehicle, so we're always evolving. Are we there yet? No way.
But a revolution is likely coming. Wave's rival Waymo is also seeking to roll out robotaxi service in London by the end of the year. UK law currently requires a human operator behind the wheel even if a car is driving itself. Firms like Wave and Waymo, though, are seeking public approval to change those laws. If they get it, 2026 could be London's year of the robotaxi.
Charles with the business on France 24.